Good evening, dear friends. This is your host, your mentor, Akash. Children, we've already learnt a lot about adjectives, and as I've already instructed you earlier, that every word has got its specific position according to which it behaves. So, in the same succession, I'm going to add on a certain virtues to the same concept called adjectives, where we're going to learn a little more, quite shortly, quite precisely, but of course, elaborative study of adjectives. Now, children, when you talk about adjectives, some words or probably word that describe a lot more about a noun or a pronoun. Now, in general, what do you need to describe about? There are things, there are people like human beings, there are animals, etc. Or I can also say emotions, feelings that need to be described. Now, adjectives is exactly the concept that comes into play here. So now, as you can see on the screen, you have a thinking cloud here which says human beings. Now, children, you can describe various types of human beings. There are several doctors around, there are engineers, there are plumbers, there are shoe menders, which are usually known as cobblers, and there are many more occupations that people follow. Even a small boy, even a kid, a girl, anybody can be described in some way or the other, and the description either can be fruitful, that is on the positive side, or maybe on the negative side. So both will of course critically require adjectives here. Sometimes positive adjectives and sometimes negative adjectives come into play. So this is what we are going to briefly discuss about here. Next up, we've got animals. If you talk about a dog, a cat, and you talk about a cow, some dogs are aggressive, some dogs are quite calm. Similarly, some cows are docile, some again are quite aggressive. Some cows are submissive, the other are quite bossy. So there are that this is a cluster of words that you will definitely require in order to speak and understand English more. Everything has got its own description. Now, if I talk about the room that I am sitting in, it's got a sofa here. I can describe it in terms of color, in terms of its size, etc. But then I need adjectives. Similarly, I've got a bottle right in front of me that, of course, you can't look at, but then it's red in color, it has a certain size, it can hold a different capacity. So this is where you require adjectives: a small size, a big size, a large size, an extra large size bottle. So this is where I'm using the adjectives. A small size, small is an adjective, right? Small, it's got comparative degree, which is smaller, it's got superlative degree, which is smallest. So in the same fashion, there are adjectives, right? Okay. Next up, we've got places. Places can be defined as: some places can be ugly, places can be unkempt, that means untidy, shabby, right? Some places can be very beautiful, some places can be serene, some places can be calm. So these are all adjectives that I'm trying to use in order to make you understand that it will eventually be the gameplay of adjectives when you will come to elaborate something. If I want to talk about myself, what kind of a person I am, apart from the identity, my biological details, I only need adjectives. If I don't have adjectives, I fall short of words that describe my quality. That means I'm unable to convey my idea about myself to anybody else who's asking me or who has asked me who you are. So you need to understand adjectives are important. Next, we've got feelings, emotions, as we've already discussed. We've discussed in abstract noun that every abstract noun has got a certain adjective related to it. Similarly, every adjective of quality has got certain feelings and emotions. Those are groove. Once you develop a momentum with these words, with these concepts, you will understand that this word belongs to adjective and this words belong to emotion. For example, if I say, let us say anger. Anger, angry, hunger, hungry. If I say anger, anger is a feeling. I have it in my mind. I sometimes have it enclosed in my heart. So it's an aggressive emotion. It's an unrestful emotion that provokes me to do something, that evokes a different or a negative feeling in me. So that's anger, right? So I cannot say I am anger. right? I can say I am in anger. So anger is a feeling. I'm living, I'm dwelling in an emotion. So that's a an abstract noun. If I say I am angry, this is defining what quality I am producing in myself. That is, I am angry. I am inheriting anger for contemporarily or for the current moment. So angry becomes the adjective. Similarly, hunger and hungry. Hunger is an emotion, right? When you start hallucinating because you are hungry, you have a certain quench for eating something, right? Similarly, if I say hungry, that means it's an adapted quality in you. So that quality is being described by the word called hungry, which eventually falls in the category or family of adjectives. All right, children, moving ahead, I can see there's a boy right in front of you on the screen. Now, this boy looks quite charming, quite happy. He looks jubilant. He looks exuberant. So, what am I trying to do here is I'm trying to explain him. So, all these words that I've used as adjectives to explain this boy here on the screen, I'm not going to use it in the screenshot, or let us say in my grapheme. Now, quality associated with it as well. So we need to do it simultaneously. We need to understand a good will always have a bad. Even electricity cannot flow without joining the plus to the minus. Both are opposite, right? So everything is interrelated if you understand. Now, good, the opposite is bad. Both of these words are adjectives. Next, I can see fat, plump, and stout in the second line. Whereas opposite to that, it's slim, thin, and skinny. Now these three words represent a boy who's fat. Any man, anybody who looks puffed up, anybody who looks plump is either fat in very simple terminology and may also be said to be plump, or stout. Now stout is also an alcoholic drink, so with the same spelling, of course. So this word is not only an adjective, but I can also use it as a noun when I'm referring to a drink that is stout, very similar to beer, an alcoholic drink which one should never consume. So the opposite, the antonyms are slim, thin, or skinny. Even petite, P-E-T-I-T-E, it's a French word. It has a French origin. It is also used now, included in English dictionary. It is also used to represent somebody who's quite thin, skinny, right? Okay. The third line says handsome. A boy can be handsome. Anybody can be handsome at all. Not only a boy, a man, anybody, right? Meager. Meager wants to display a quality that somebody does not look as charming as this boy looks here, right? So handsome, meager. Reliable, one whom you can rely upon. For example, if I say I am into trouble and I need some help, so I can only so that he can provide a fruitful help to me. What is the opposite? Unreliable and dodgy. Dodgy means, now, there are footballers who take possession of the football and they dribble across and around different defenders. So he's trying to dodge everybody. He's quite unreliable. He makes a move one way, but he takes the ball the other. So that is quite dodgy, right? So reliable, unreliable, or dodgy. One which is not sure. Next is athletic. Any person who's an athlete will definitely be athletic. And what do you mean by athletic? A person who has immense strength, a person who has immense agility, that is speed, and a person who has immense stamina, right? So these are three different qualities. Okay, so athletic, a person who's not athletic, he will be frail or weak. I mean, opposite to of athletic becomes frail or weak. Next is peaceful or friendly. A person can be friendly. If he's friendly, of course, he will he will share a certain amount of peace to you. So the other way around, the person can be aggressive to you. He can dwell in aggression and make you feel discomforted at all times. Next is modest, humble, one who's welcoming, one who's accepting. If you've done something for somebody, out of modesty, he would definitely acknowledge, he would recognize that help that you've possibly lent to him, right? Humble. one who's accepting, one who's welcoming. And the other type of person, the other way around, the person can be said to be arrogant. Next up, we've got a girl on the screen. Let's see what all qualities can we discuss about this girl here. She wants to, but because she's so beautiful that people provide a certain amount of attention of theirs to her. Then next is compassionate, one who really feels for others, right? Compassionate. Then affectionate, one who's really loving in nature. Loving again is an adjective here, a loving girl, an affectionate girl. Fashionable, a girl or any person who makes use of in trend or modern or contemporary world clothes, accessories. Then you've got cosmetics, etc. Pragmatic, this possibly might be a new word for you, of course not difficult, a new word. Pragmatic means practical, one who does not believe in ideas, but he or she believes in executing those ideas, right? So that's pragmatic, practical person. Pretty, as it goes, beautiful, right? Okay, let's see the opposite column, or the column present in the opposite side of the girl. Presents or showcases all the antonyms to these positive adjectives that we've discussed here. Young corresponds to old. Charming, repulsive, compassionate, heartless, one who does not have the heart or that welcoming nature to anything that has been done for him or her. That's being heartless, right? Then affectionate, repugnant. Repugnant simply means one who does not want anybody to be close and being talking about himself or herself. That's repugnant, right? Fashionable, I can also give orthodox, right? Orthodox as an antonym to the word fashionable, or old fashioned. Then pragmatic, the opposite word also is dogmatic. Realistic means not real, only idea, just an idea, it's not for real, right? Pretty corresponds to ugly. So it's very simple. So every time you come across a positive adjective, you need to hit, you need to target, you need to shoot down the negative adjective as well, so that you have a complete, a wholesome assembly. Up next, we've got a slide showcasing on the screen three kinds of animals. One is a dog that is often petted at house, and the other one is tiger, which of course is a wild, ferocious beast, and the other one is an elephant, which is a mammoth mammal. Right? Okay, let's talk about the qualities. How can we describe such animals? I've only chosen a few here. You can try to come across as many as possible for you, right? Not only the positive ones, but of course the negative ones as well. All right. So if I talk about a dog can be tamed, can be petted, can be trained so that it behaves exactly as his or her owner wants him or her to behave. The next is trustworthy. Um, if I am not mistaken here, a dog is really a faithful animal. You can place your trust in a dog. So therefore I call it a trustworthy animal, right? A faithful animal. Okay. Then the next adjective, the positive adjective related to a dog is docile. It's quite docile. By the word docile, I mean to say that it's quite accepting, it's quite welcoming, it's quite submissive, right? It's quite calm. Only if adjectives that I've targeted for a dog here, I can say for the word tamed, we've got a very simple antonym for the word or the adjective tamed that you need to search for. Okay, right. The next one is trustworthy. The other way around, the story says deceitful. Deceitful means somebody who's ready and who will definitely cheat on you or cheat you for some or the other reason, right? If I say docile, the other word, the opposite word, the antonym for this adjective is disobedient. One who would always be repulsive, right? So that's disobedient. Okay, let's talk about a tiger, which is completely different from or comparative to a dog, right? The dog is a different family, and the tiger belongs to a cat family, the predating cat family, the predators, right? The A1 survivors, the supreme, the primer. All right, okay. So, talking about a tiger is quite ferocious, one who immediately gets angry. In very common or a layman language, I can call ferocious as short tempered, right? Somebody who gets into a flurry of anger in quick successions, that is ferocious or short tempered. And the opposite to this is tamed or gentle. The next is agility. We've discussed about an athlete in the previous slides, and we've called an athlete to be agile, right? Agile is one who's got. For a tiger, I can also say a tiger is famished. Famished does not mean dying out of hunger or hallucinated because one is really hungry, right? Or malnutrition. It's because a tiger eats at its will. So I can say it's usually hungry. So one who's always hungry does not mean it's a tiger, but yes, a tiger is usually hungry. It keeps on feeding because it needs a lot of dosage as it keeps on growing day per day. So one who's famished, on the opposite to which is well fed. Okay. Next is an elephant here. The third image shows or showcases an elephant here. So that means flaccid. An elephant, even if an elephant attacks, it will definitely chase you. But before it goes totally berserk and out of control, it will definitely show some flaccidity. So that flaccidity means it shows a little bit of hesitation, even if it is quite in anger and it's charging on at you. So still there is some amount of hesitation, a hiccup, because of which he restrains itself. So that is called flaccidity. So an elephant is flaccid. So the opposite of flaccid is firm. The next adjective in the positive side is humongous. Humongous simply means mammoth, massive, huge, large in size. The opposite to it is tiny, right? Okay, the third is resilient. Resilient. What do you mean by resilient? Resilient simply means one who's quite adamant. If an elephant decides that it's heading this way, it will definitely head that way, no matter the rest of the clan follows it or not. So this behavior, it's not because I know the meaning of the adjective. The behavior has quite often been observed by me in shows that are broadcasted in channels like Discovery, National Geographic, Animal Planet, etc. So therefore I know it's resilient, right? So for this I don't need English. I needed a channel called Discovery, just a program of half an hour that tells me that elephants are resilient, right? So one who's resilient, the opposite to this will become vulnerable, fragile. Vulnerable means one who's really one who comes into influence quite quickly. So one who gets influenced because of the presence of the others, or who's easily persuasive, that kind of a person or an animal is known as vulnerable. Fragile simply means weak, something that can be broken into pieces, something that can shatter. So that's called a fragile, right? Okay, next up, we've got a beautiful picture of a snowy mountain. I can also call it a snow capped mountain. So, in the word or in the phrase called snow capped mountain, there is an adjective hidden, but it actually is not adjective. It's the participle form which is actually being used as an adjective. So, the word that I just chose, participle, will be explained in the upcoming classes, of course. So, let's currently discuss the first picture that we have here. It's quite pristine. So, mountains, snow capped mountains are not present from today. These have been in existence since or I can say for a long time now, right? For a mammoth period of time now. So I can call them, those are pristine. So these mountains are pristine. Pristine means belonging to a long time back. So that means there is no influence of this pristine nature. uh, there is no human influence on this pristine nature, and something that has got a human um, influence or is being influenced by humans is of course called spoiled. So that is the difference. Pristine means something that belongs to a long a time that has passed long time back, and of course it's in its purest form. So that's pristine. So something that is not in its purest form simply means that is contaminated, that is spoiled, right? Okay, next is serene. Serene means something that gives you a sense of calmness. That's something that sedates you, not because you're being injected by something else to turn you into an off position. Not, of course, not because of that, but because you are totally lost in that beautiful acceptance. That's called serene. So if it's not serene, we can call it noisy or turbulent. That means excessively disturbing or distracting. The third is admirable. Anything that pleases your eyesight, that pleases your view, will definitely be admirable to you. For example, if I say, if I see my mother playing badminton, I admire it. So that's an admirable sight for me. Not these mountains, maybe something else. For you, it can be something else, right? And if it is not admirable, it definitely is something that can cause a sense of hatred in you. So it is either admirable or it is abominable. That is how it goes. Okay, next up, we can see the beauty, the seventh wonder of the world, the ex seventh wonder of the world, that is Taj Mahal. So Taj Mahal is situated in Agra and was definitely built by Shah Jahan. Great. All right. Next. So I've chosen three pairs of adjectives here, out of which three belonging to the positive category and three belonging to the negative category. Though those negative categories does not belong or does not these negative category adjectives do not describe Taj Mahal from any angle at all. But then it's being used so that we here cover up a wholesome adjectives concept. All right. So it is historical because it was built in a period that has passed long time back. So it is historical. So if it is not historical, it has been built in the contemporary times. I can call it. It has been built currently. So I'm not using currently here because it becomes an adverb. But here I'm going to use current as the opposite or the antonym to historical. Okay. Graceful, something that stands out because of its extraordinary existence or presence, is called graceful. For example, if I say she dances with a grace, or he dances with a grace, he sings with a grace, so that grace is that X factor, that that cut above, that keeps him above, and of course elegant. The third adjective used here is exquisite. Exquisite simply means something that has been refined to its purest, or I may say to its best form. That is exquisite, right? And the opposite to this is crude. Crude simply means raw, right? One which has not been processed, one which has not been refined so that it cannot be immediately used, consumed, or maybe watched. That is crude. Next up, we've got, all right, children, coming to the explanation of the third picture to you. I see a beautiful ocean where hovers three boats here, and there's a beautiful rock island right next to the three boats. So I can call it picturesque. Picturesque simply means something that has got an extraordinary and admirable scenic beauty. So if I say scenic beauty, scenic becomes an adjective, beauty is a noun. Whereas here I'm using picturesque as an adjective. The second adjective here that I've used as the positive side is panoramic. We today, children, if you remember or if you have the knowledge about the same, I can take you to this word panorama shot mode, where panorama is a mode of shooting pictures from your smart mobile phones. So, why do we call it panorama, or what is panoramic? Panorama is an expansive view, that is a human eye view. When you watch something, you see a lot of things altogether. You don't only, your eyes or your vision only doesn't get stuck to a single or a particular thing. It sees an expansive view, it sees a very stretched out view. Third is sublime, something that is extraordinarily manufactured and, of course, naturally manufactured is sublime, right? So that means something that is of extraordinary presence, that is called sublime. And now let's target the opposite, the antonyms of these adjectives. Those are the negative adjectives. Picturesque says ugly and dab becomes or falls as the antonym to this adjective. So what's dab here? Ugly simply means something that does not look appealing or good or charming or enchanting. What is dab? Dab is simply that is colorless. That dab is anything that has got no power to attract anything. Okay, panoramic, expansive, and it's expansive. It is not expensive, it is expansive, right? So, panoramic, the antonym to this word or this adjective is narrow or limited, right? And the opposite or the antonym to the word sublime is ordinary, something that is as usual, right? So, children, my last advisory to you as a mentor would be that you need to replenish your mind. Replenish simply means to revive, to bring life back into something which has lost its major content, which has lost its nutritional value, right? So, we have to act healthy, we have to stay healthy, and of course, keep fit. So, children, apart from this, you also have to replenish your mind, and for that, you need to do a lot of revision. So, it's better you study limited, but you revise unlimitedly. Thank you, and keep safe, and of course, have a healthy stay.